Thank you so much for your time, Ashish. This is one of a kind initiative which we had taken as a firm. The idea is to share the learning experience of a seasoned professional like you, who have done so far, who have seen, experienced a lot of things, who can pass on these learnings to a person who is willing to start their journey in the finance domain, and then who have already spent so many years in the industry. So now, what is next for them?
Hmm.
So this is the idea through which we were talking about. Let's why don't we start a CFO discussion wherein they can just a non-gyan, non-technical side. They are sharing their experience with everyone. So that is the idea behind it.
Uh,
So thank you so much for your time.
So thank you, and I think big congratulations to you and the Shining team for taking such a meaningful initiative and having me over. And I'm glad to be a part of this, journey to give it or serve the profession. So thank you for having me over.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Probably, I think we can start with your background as a first, like your childhood days.
Hmm.
What were you liking? How did you land up in this commerce or the finance world? So maybe you can just start with telling us little bit about your childhood, then the finance world or the commerce
Sure.
industry.
I hail from Ludhiana, Punjab. It's in the North India. It's a city there, and I've had a very vibrant childhood. A typical. I'm a '90s kid, so a typical '90s Punjabi kid. Uh, Spent most of my days out playing in the cricket field, and then playing video games. Internet was booming at the time, so I was one of a big consumer of the early age social media like Yahoo,
Hmm.
Orkut. I think the Gen Z today will not even know about it, but yeah, it was the thing at the time. So I consumed the early age social media at the time, and all of that, of course, was had over the years had an impact the way I have grown. But I think the last minute studies and then the all nighters in the exams, that was the typical way how I spent my childhood. But one thing I would say, I was quick on picking up new things, and I was very keen on picking up new things, and also quick on learning, whether it be sports or studies. So I was decent in the studies as well. So it was like a good balance which was going on in my childhood. So when I cleared my 10th or matriculation, uh, I scored enough marks to have all the options open to me. Like, I could have gone to medical, non-medical, commerce, or arts. But I chose commerce at the time. Maybe I found it easy enough. So,
Hmm.
so I thought medical and non-medical are too difficult for me, and then I will have to lose on my cricket and things like that. So I chose commerce at the time. So I would say yes, I am in the commerce field since beginning, because since 11th I am studying these subjects. Uh, but it has grown. The font for it or the love for it has grown over time.
Right. And what did you like in commerce? I mean, what is the love for commerce once you land up in this stream? I guess we were like the same batch wherein still 11, 12 is a deciding factor,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
wherein because I remember my days, there were not too much of the opportunities like the experience based learnings which is happening
yeah, yeah.
nowadays. Earlier, it is too much of do study, work hard. That is the only way to achieve something in the life.
Correct.
So I'm sure the once you land up in the commerce, and then why chartered accountancy?
Yeah, interesting. I think I believe one's culture and the family has a big influence, and we are talking about the era. This is early 2000s when the exchange of information was not as easy as it is today. So your family and your people around you have a big influence on you. I think it was the case with me also. My father was a part-time accountant to make
Okay.
ends meet, and when I looked at him at the time, and uh, I used to watch him when he used to talk to the chartered accountants who talked to them like a senior.
Right.
So I think that was the budding seed that I
Right.
need to do it. And in fact, the decision of commerce, going into the commerce in 11th, was also influenced from that partially. uh, but the love for commerce was not instant.
Hmm.
The love for commerce grew over time, and I remember in my 11th and 12th, uh, all I liked in commerce was economics. The micro macroeconomics. I fondly remember those days and those subjects. And then it was fast forward IPCC when I actually started liking accountancy. So
Right.
the subjects. There was time in each phase when I started liking few of the subjects, and it was only in IPCC after 4 or 5 years when I was already reading accountancy, studying accountancy, that I actually felt that I understand the subject now.
Correct.
I didn't understand accountancy until IPCC.
Mm.
By the way, I scored 96 in 12th, but I don't think I understood the subject back then.
Mhm.
It was more, like you said, grill and learn things, work hard, and then give exams, score marks. But it was IPC when I understood accountancy. I think I could talk to accountancy. So that was how it grew. And then fast forward finals, topics on strategic financial management, capital budgeting, costing. I think I understood taxation a lot better in
Right.
finals. Before that, I didn't understand taxation as much. So it grew over time. It was not love at first sight, to say so, with commerce, but the bond just grew over time, and I really enjoyed,
So as
studying
you
commerce.
mentioned IPCC, I guess
Yeah,
nowadays a lot of young generation who are pursuing chartered accountancy as a course, they have a kind of a mindset in a thing that they need to rush for large organizations to get the exposure.
yeah,
So, I mean, and I have seen that over the last 5 to 10 years. So, the concept earlier, which was there for Big Four, is the only key to success.
yeah.
So, what is your take? I mean, like, is it like life outside Big Four is nothing, or there is a no exposure for them because they.
True, and it was the case back then. And truth be told, it was the case with me also. When I was in college and I cleared my IPCC and I was trying for articleship, I was so particular that I will only go to Big Fours
Hmm.
or Big Fives. In fact, I got refused in one of those, honestly, and I was like, oh, I won't be able to get anywhere because I'm refused in a Big Four, right?
Hmm.
But then I could get into EY at the time, and I did my assurance from EY. So I also followed the path,
Right.
honestly. But I think in hindsight, I can tell you that the biggest mistake, one of the mistakes I did also, was to be narrowed at the time. But things went out well for me. But if I have to tell today in hindsight that, is it a deal breaker? I don't think so. One, and the students today, I would tell them also that this is a marathon, it's not a sprint race.
Yeah.
So you don't have to rush, right?
Correct.
uh, you have to decide, I think, ask the right questions to yourself, that why you want to enter this field, why Big Four. One of the things the Big Four does, of course, is the specialization and the
Yeah.
depth of the subject, right?
Right.
While in the maybe in the tier 2, tier 3 firms, you will learn a lot more on the breadth of the subjects. And if you look at my career also, that I realized over time that the breadth of subjects is as important as the depth of subject. So diversification is super important.
Yeah.
And in my career, I have tried to do that. I've tried to work in my roles that I have picked. I have tried to pick the breadth of the subjects in terms of the domains of finance, supply chain, commercial,
True.
project finance, FP&A. I've done all of that to cover the breadth of the subject so that I understand those things. So yes,
True.
depth is important, but do not ignore or undermine the power of the breadth of subject and the diversification. So don't rush; it's a marathon. Is
Yeah.
what I
So
would
it,
say.
it means like specialization is important, but that is not the only way you can achieve
Absolutely,
success.
absolutely. I mean, I'm not in no way undermining the importance of specialization, but is that the only way of going ahead in career? I would say in the formative years. When I say formative years, I'm talking about the first decade of your
Yeah.
career. You should pay attention to the breadth also.
Right. Great. And how about this? Since we are talking on this, the young generation who are still in this domain. So once they qualified a
Yeah,
chartered accountant, challenge which or the question in their mind is
yeah,
to rush for either consulting side or a PSU job or
yeah.
someone in industry
Yeah.
who is working. So how someone has to decide at that particular age?
I can tell you how I decided. I experienced it, and I'm a firm believer of having experiences by yourself. Uh, I did assurance in one of the big fours for 2 years, and then I did industrial training with an industrial company. And I then decided for myself, and I found out that being in the business, being on the ground where the action is happening is where my interest lies, and that's
True.
how I chose industry, right? So that's my story.
Yeah.
But does that apply to you or anyone else? Not necessarily, right?
Right.
So one size fits all is
True.
not
True.
is not how it works. So I think one must experience by himself or herself. uh, and another thing, when I hear, because the young generation, when they reach out to me even today, and I hear things like, oh, industry is paying more in the campus recruitment, right,
Yeah.
or campus placements, or my friend joined a consultancy and the work life balance is not that great. So when I hear those things, I see that somewhere the decision making is on the 1 or 2 years horizon today.
Yeah.
They are
Okay.
just looking at the next 1 2 years and taking a call basis that, okay, I'm getting 20% 30% more package in industry versus consultancy, or oh, I think the work life balance is going to be good, and they're only looking at the initial years. I think that should be avoided. That is
Right.
one thing which one must take into consideration while picking consultancy versus industry. Take a long horizon. Again, very few people make pivot throughout the careers, between
Right.
consultancy industry. So it's important that you take time, you talk to people, and then you take your call basis the longer horizon and not just 1 2 years.
So
Because, like I said, it is a decision which will stay with you, remain with you for the next 30 years,
right.
right?
So help me out. Like suppose I am qualified today and I am reaching out to you,
Yeah.
and I have options like going to industry, options like going to a consulting firm.
Yeah.
So help me that how can I decide what should be my deciding factors to decide on these two main streams.
So yeah, I mean,
One is like long horizon, I have
of
to
course,
say.
long horizon you have to see for sure. uh, your areas of interest, are you technically, you want to be technically deep into the subject, and hence a consultancy might be a better option for you,
Correct.
or you are someone who enjoys the daily, daily day-to-day business running and things like that, which
Right.
happened with me. I think that's also important. Yes, in a longer horizon, the the softer aspects like work life balance or your family history, family background.
Right.
I didn't come from a commerce background family. All my
Mm.
family, 99% of my extended family members are engineers. So I was the first commerce graduate in my extended family, not even my own family, my extended family. So I come from an engineering background. I think that also influences that, and should influence that. If you are someone who has chartered accountancy consulting firm already
Yeah.
in the family, then yes, consultancy might be a better option for you. So I think you should really ask yourself the right questions, that why do you want to do it, how it will help you, and keep your uh, one or two rules. If not, I'm not saying, when you retire, what do you want to become. Don't
Yeah.
have that kind of ask those kind of questions. Those are
Right.
mostly vague in my opinion.
Correct.
But you have at least one or two roles next 5 years 7 years in your mind,
Right.
and then make a decision that the call you are taking today, is it complementing that.
Correct.
I think that's important.
So it is like it is okay to say like if someone is starting his journey in industry,
Yeah.
so in next one or two roles will be more deeper into the business,
Yeah.
and in terms of consulting it will be more management of the clients.
Management
As
of clients plus a successful consultant must have deep knowledge of the subject. So if are
yeah.
you that tech when I say tech, I don't mean the technology. I mean
Yeah.
the technical aspect
True.
of the profession.
Okay.
For example, assurance. Then
Yeah.
are you, accounting, auditing, governance, internal controls, those
Correct.
technical parameters? Are you too deep into that?
Correct.
Is that something which excites you? If that answer is yes,
Yeah.
then maybe
That
assurance
is
is the
the
thing for you.
got it. So, okay, so we got about your childhood, then the initial phase out challenges when someone is pursuing a CA course or
Yeah.
someone, I mean, CA is like the highest in the finance, I would say,
Hmm.
the deeper into the finance. And then once someone is qualified, so now, so if someone has joined in the industry, like once you have joined it, so what was the initial few years consideration, which in terms of role, as you mentioned, you have a visibility or should be able to think for next 2 to 3 roles, at least for 5 to 7 years of a visibility,
Yeah.
then only you pick an option to decide to join the industry.
Yeah.
So what was your thoughts? Because when I interact with a young generation who is
Hmm.
joining the firm, they are like, what I feel is that they feel themselves in a hurry. They
Yeah.
want to learn so fast, not that they can't do.
Hmm.
So I in fact need to sometimes match the speed with them.
Hmm.
But the problem in this whole system is that they are like short of going into the deep of whatever they are doing today.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what was your thought? I mean, did you feel the same way
Hmm.
back then, or what was the learning around it? So
I would say that, of course, I didn't think about though I have to become CFO or what things would help me become a CFO. I didn't have that in mind, to be honest, when I picked the initial roles in my career. But one thing which I have always been very mindful of, and I still am, uh, is the kind of work I want to do, the kind of roles I pick. Uh, is it complementing my long term objective or plan? And I would say that I was also lucky enough in my initial days because I could get into a 2 years financial leadership program. So that's how I started my
okay.
career, which gave me a head start. What it did to me was give me an experience of covering cross business, cross geography, cross teams experience for 2 years. So I did that for 2 years. Did four businesses. What I learned in that was one. I think the power of diversification and networking.
Mm,
That got imbibed in me very early, very early in my career. That the breadth of experiences, like I was talking about, it got imbibed in me right from day one of post qualification experience. And also, I think another thing which helped me over the years also was the softer aspects of the career or the roles or the job. From a chartered accountancy standpoint, I think one thing which we chartered accountants don't emphasize enough, we are great in technicals.
yeah.
When, like you said, in finance, when it comes to finance, you believe that chartered accountants are the at the top of
Highest
the
level. Yeah.
tier. uh, I would say when it comes to technicals, you got to do a valuation, you'll hire a chartered accountant. You got to make a business plan, you'll hire a chartered accountant. You want to audit financials, make sure the financial accuracy is there, chartered accountant is there. So when it comes to technical things, I think the ecosystem believes in you.
Yeah.
But when you have to put someone in front of maybe an investment banker to crack a deal,
Yes.
or a customer to get you a billion-dollar deal, uh, you would not necessarily put chartered accountant on the front
Front.
seat.
Yeah.
I think that's what we got to change. And it's the softer aspects which help you get there.
Yeah.
You are technically sound, but we don't want our profession,
To
our
res-
chartered accountants, to be in the in the back seat doing all the work
yeah.
and then not representing your work. when it
Correct.
actually matters, and then being on the driving seat. I think that's something which we should focus more upon. I feel that's an improvement area for chartered accountancy as a profession, and chartered accountants like myself, and everyone, right? So
So is it
so
like
those are my two
marketing?
cents.
Is it like marketing?
It's not marketing, I
Deal
would say.
cracker is what? It is like a
I mean, I'm focusing on the soft aspects, like communication, like
true,
presentation skills, like handling the tough conversations, clearing the noise, and focusing on what matters.
true.
I think these are skills which which we don't necessarily think about when when we kind of make decision. So I think we should think more on these things, along with just clearing out the exams, and then
Yeah,
focusing on the 8 subjects that we need to clear, and also on the job, go beyond excels and things like that.
correct. So as you mentioned, you have done and got the opportunity to do the 2 years of a leadership program.
Yeah.
So what all the key learnings out of it? Is it like some university you have gone to, and then you were able to make a networking there, and then learn a lot of out of peers? Is it like that?
No, so it was a like a management training, we say, right?
Okay.
Post MBA, a lot of management trainees are there, we see. So it's a 2-year global finance leadership program called FMP, where I got to move around uh, for 2 years, in 4 businesses, 6 months rotation. So 4 years or 2 years, 4 rotation that I spent.
Oh,
uh, and and how it helped me, one of course is you get to know and get to learn the insights of different business leaders, because when you go to different businesses, interact with different business
yeah, true.
leaders, different teams, you get the cross business, and as well as this was cross geography as well for me. So different cultural background people you could meet, and then hear
Correct.
their part of story. So one of the things, of course, eventually a lot of people uh, tend to incline towards going global, right? That you want to take a job either based out of India, but having a global role, or moving out to a global position entirely. I think that experience of meeting and experiencing, dealing with people with such diverse cultural background
Yeah,
really helps,
correct,
when to do
correct.
that. So those were the few takeaways or things that helped me, not to forget what I already mentioned. I think the networking and the diversification, those were two big takeaways for me,
Right.
which I took from those 2 years of
No, I
experiences.
totally agree. It's like the exposure which is no someone
Absolutely.
is getting at the early stage because, like you said, no chartered accountancy they are involve themselves or feel happy. Now, once they qualified, they are too much into excels, too much into
Yeah.
lot of, that is also important. But the
Yeah.
as rightly said, to have a wider exposure will give the wider perspective also, so that they have a vision like to plan, which journey or which field they have to opt.
Correct. Of course, that's the bread and butter, like you said, right? Excel or things that we do. I think things that we do the best. But with this one globalization plus, uh, you are no longer competing within chartered accountancy. No profession for that matter. Forget about
Correct.
chartered accountancy. You see a lot of engineers getting into the finance fields, right? In fact, top top CFOs, you would see a lot of engineers today, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
vice versa. You will see, in fact, last, I would say, decade or so, a lot of CEOs, it's the CFOs who are stepping up and becoming the CEOs, and
true.
things like that. So it's no longer in the silos of finance or engineering or marketing or sales. Ultimately, it's all cross functional
Yes.
uh, alignment which has happened. Plus you are, for that, so you don't only have to be good in what conventionally you have been good at. You have to
Correct.
learn these new things.
No,
You have
valid
to
point.
pick these new exposure and experiences in
No,
life.
valid point. It means you are saying that finance is not the ultimate key if you have to reach to the highest level. down the line, maybe 15 years or 20 years? Is it like you have to have a wider exposure?
Finance is not about data crunching and working on Excel, is what I'm saying. Finance
Correct.
is more than that.
Maybe earlier, 2 decades or 3 decades before, that was the mindset or the expectations from a chartered accountants.
Things have evolved, so for sure, Nishant, I
Yeah.
think things have evolved. What used to be the key to success for a finance professional still exists, but is not all. It's a
True.
part of the overall recipe,
Recipe.
but not all. Yeah.
Correct. So as no, you have. I was just thinking like no, you have got the opportunity and to work in various businesses,
Yeah.
got the exposure to do this leadership program, and then eventually
Yeah.
you grew in all those different aspects. So how did you manage your work-life balance? You remember, Mr. Narayan Murthy said that someone has to work 70 hours a week. So do you agree with that?
Look, it's my personal opinion first. I think let it be clarified. I believe whether it's a 70-hour week or a 40-hour week, uh, it's not about the number of hours you put into work. Ultimately, and I hope what he also meant was the output an individual is able to produce and the
Yeah.
quality of that output. So I think productivity is the focal point.
Hmm.
It's not the number of hours, but the productivity is maybe what he also meant, and what at least my personal opinion is that productivity is the focal point. And when it comes to that, there are many levers. It's not one that is the amount of hours you put in, or
Yeah.
the other which would bring it bring it home, the productivity. I think there are many levers that you got to do, and if you if you're a good people leader, you would know what takes your team.
True.
And if you're a good leader, then you know what motivates your team to come to office every day,
Yeah.
with the head high, and then leave in the evening with a smiling
So
face.
not just
Yeah.
no putting a 70 hours tag. Of course, he meant that no someone has to be dedicated enough, especially in the initial career or initial stages of their life journey or the business journey.
Hmm.
Because at that point of time, Mr. Murthy was building Infosys. Of course, Mr. Narayan Murthy was meant that someone has to do a productive hour spend, and then because back then he was building Infosys,
Yeah.
and his point was that someone should have dedicated enough,
Yeah.
spend a lot of time on learnings, because those who must have spent time back then with Mr. Narayan must be at a good level because of that learning.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
agree, it's like not a meter which is going on that 70 hours done, that you must have done something great. Is the actual meaningful time spent which someone is
True.
doing.
True.
And how did you manage the work life balance?
Well,
Or are
when you
you
start the career, your personal commitments are a
low?
bit low,
Yeah.
so you can afford to spend those extra oil, burn that midnight oil in the office. So I did that too, to be honest. My definition of work life balance, for first many years, uh, was limited to be able to take vacations when I want to, disconnect, cut off from the work when I have to.
Yeah.
And I am someone who enjoys traveling. So my work life definition in the initial many years was not 9 hours of work and then
Yeah.
off to home, but it was rather that who you work uh, dedicatedly, be stay committed to it, and then take a week or 2 weeks off. So that's how I managed in the initial many years. uh, it has changed over time, I would say. It is not exactly the same.
Right.
I still enjoy my vacations, but it's not no longer working those 14, 16 hours, 14 hours a day,
Right.
which at times I did in the initial years. Definitely I did,
Correct.
but I no longer am doing that. I have a beautiful family at home to go to, so I like to go relatively early and spend time with them.
No, no, I agree, totally
Yeah,
agree. I guess no, initial year generally you have bandwidth, you have less personal commitment, so
yeah,
people at times spend more on the learnings, and then gradually you get a lot of maturity, and then team size, and
yeah,
then a lot of roles gives all those flexibility also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, you have been into this industry from almost 2 decades if we combine everything, your experience and all. So, is it like how you have seen that role of a CFO has evolved? I
Hmm.
mean, if you have to see the role of a CFO back then, 5 years, 7 years before versus today, how
Hmm.
this role has evolved?
Yeah. No, it has. Firstly, I'm in a professional space for last decade. So I
Okay.
qualified in 2015. So yeah, I'm in this industry for a decade. Yeah, but yes, to your question, I think the 5 years, 7 years horizon that you talked about, of course, things have evolved massively, uh, and we saw once in a lifetime pandemic during
Yep.
this, right? So
Correct.
which completely change, or rather force us to change the way we think, the way we do things. So there is a massive mindset shift over the years, I would say. And what also has happened is that the technology has evolved a lot
Yep.
over time also. I remember when post COVID, when first time we were asked to come back to office on a hybrid basis, and every functional leader was asked to prepare a roster with few parameters like once a week every team member should be in office together, and then on the others no more than 50% of your team's uh, strength should be in office, and then also there were number of days, minimum number of days, which was that every employee has to be there. So there were parameters which were put uh, back in the days. Maybe if it happened 7 years back, I would have taken a lot of time working on excels,
Mm.
scratching my head to prepare this. Maybe I would have spent an hour or two on this. On this occasion, I gave my problem statement, put my problem statement with the defined parameters on ChatGPT, and in less than a second, the
Mm.
roster was in front of me. So I
Mhm.
leveraged AI to prepare a roster for my team, and it
Right.
took me 1 minute, right?
Correct.
So, and it's a small example, but just trying to give you a flavor that how the technology has also evolved, making
Correct.
our lives easier, making our lives simpler, and also giving a lot of opportunities, especially when it comes to finance.
True.
We have heard enough that data is the new oil, or the
Yeah.
power of data, right?
Correct.
And you think about it, uh, we finance folks have always been in the center of data generation, data consumption,
Yeah.
data analysis, interpretation, and then giving out the meaningful insights, right?
Insights.
So
Yeah.
that's what we have been doing
Yeah.
over the years, and this is not new. This is uh, over many decades that we have been doing it, right? Now, with the rising power of data, strength of data, and now a lot of, we talk about data driven decision making all the time, which earlier maybe through years of experience and through guts and through judgment calls we were doing, we still do that. I think it will not get eliminated, and my opinion personal, it should not
Yeah.
get eliminated. There is still that level of gut feel
Yeah.
which prevails, but it's largely data driven decision making. So we are actually having an edge, because this is what we have been doing over the years, over the decades,
Right.
right? So this is an opportunity for us, and the role of a CFO has evolved over the years only to make things better for them and for the profession. The modern CFO has to be a strategic thinker. The modern
Okay.
CFO has to do business partnering to do, not only for the short term priorities of the business, but also the long term strategy of the business.
Correct. Correct.
Risk management, including the cybersecurity risk, which is one of the biggest risks today, is one of the prime priority and role that a modern CFO must do.
Right.
Capital generation and its deployment. So I think those are the few things which a modern CFO must possess. No longer we are in an era where bookkeeping, governance, ensuring the right
Yeah.
financials and the accuracy of the financials. Um, it's not limited to that, a CFO's role. Yes, it's still there. It's a big part of a CFO's responsibilities, but it's not the end of the game.
Right. So once someone has become the highest level in a finance for a company called a designation called CFO,
Yeah.
so what is next for them? Is it like they opt for a bigger business later on, what is a challenge and the fire, like you in the age of like me or 30s, early
Yeah,
30s,
yeah,
you have become now CFO.
yeah.
So what is next for you? Because I am sure there is more than 30-35 years still lying,
Yeah.
in your professional career. So what is that you think for yourself, that what is next for Ashish?
Uh, feels like an interview. No, yeah, I think, of course, all those options, going to a global role, things like moving to another industry, moving to, higher turnover business and companies as CFOs, all those options are open for anyone, any CFO, including myself. Uh, Even as a freelancer, you can work. A virtual CFO of a company more than one is also on the table. So I think one can choose any option if there's a right fit between the requirement and CFO skills. But the way I like to think about it is that it is no different, not materially different to how I picked my first role. You know, it is about asking those right questions to yourself, having the next 1 to 2 roles in my mind, and making sure that this complements
Yeah,
the long term journey, whatever thing
true.
I'm picking next. I think that's how I like to think about it, not to complicate
And I
it a
often
lot.
heard a thing like CFOs are now a co-pilot for a business, or the founder, or a co-founder, or a MD for a company.
Yeah.
So why do they say this? I mean, why co-pilot is a
Like I
term?
said, the modern CFO, one of the top skill which is required, or the top priority from a CFO, is to do business partnering. And if I club, the things that I said, the CEOs or the board is looking at you as a strategic partner. Why is that? Because the role of data has tremendously risen over the years.
Mm.
And when it comes to uh, the data processing and giving the insights from the data, meaningful information, so that decision making can be enabled, the CEO, the board, the investors, they look at you.
Yeah,
So your role has uh, risen along with the power of data, right?
correct.
So all of them are looking at you when it comes to decision making, or enabling the decision making.
Decision making.
So I think it is more of facilitating the business, no longer keeping the records of the business. It is also the facilitating the business priorities and the day to day operation of the business, and that's where the partnering to the business partnering comes into play. And it's a big role. In fact, uh, if I give you, I don't know, I don't remember exactly where I read it, but one of the surveys said that the modern CFOs are saying that they spend 60% of their time on business strategy and transformation,
Mm.
and not on conventional things that they were doing,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So this is the expectation which is there, and rightfully so. And I think it's great thing for the finance
Yeah,
fraternity.
true.
It's a great opportunity from a learning standpoint, from a growth standpoint. The reason we see these days that more and more CFOs are becoming CEOs of the company, I think
Yeah,
these are the reasons for that.
because of that business exposure or the acumen which they are getting over the period of
Absolutely,
time.
absolutely. You don't know, no, you no longer have the financial acumen only. You are generating the business acumen. You are generating the sales and the BD acumen when you are
Yes.
into these discussions, when you are driving those things for the business. So the horizon is much wider today
Correct.
for a
So,
CFO.
BD is like something very close to my heart, because no, when I started my journey, I didn't know about it.
Hmm.
It's like, and there is no book by plain reading you can just read and just do it.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of efforts, in fact, for me also, to learn like, no, what is BD
Hmm.
actually.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I am doing there is my CA certification, I have done MBA in finance, so
Yeah.
all of these things are there, but
Yeah.
still it took me a lot. Still I'm learning, I'm a
Yeah.
student,
Yeah.
that how BD is, what BD is. And then that is something which no ICI also think towards no implementing such change to make it at par with no other masters program
Hmm.
which is running
Yeah.
no as part of that curriculum, because this
Hmm.
is like something very prestigious course
Yeah.
uh, in the finance domain per
No,
se.
absolutely. And the the mantra of learning, that 70-20-10 rule. uh,
Hmm.
It itself says 70% of the learning comes on the job.
Right.
So, irrespective of what books you have read, irrespective of what classroom trainings you have taken, yes, that gives you a head start, that gives you, the foundation, that sets the foundation for you, but you learn on the job 70% of the time.
True,
So,
true. So, like Ashish, you mentioned that you have to face various stakeholders
yeah.
during the a lot of discussions which happens. So, which one is like more tricky to deal with at times? I think stakeholders like sometimes MD, sometimes auditor, sometimes board,
Yeah.
investors. So, which one is like the tricky one?
There are more stakeholders than that. Add
I'm
bankers,
sure. Yeah.
regulators, customers. Those are very important stakeholders as well.
Right.
The list is long for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I think I would not call anyone tricky, to be honest. And I think it's about understanding the position the stakeholder is coming from. It's about understanding the and knowing the audience, and do an active listening. If you do those things, if you're an active listener and you are willing to hear their side of the story, irrespective of what stakeholder you are talking to or having a conversation with, you're already off to a very good conversation. If
Right.
you are listening to their problems, their viewpoint, then it gets easier to navigate the discussion,
Correct.
because it's not a monologue then.
True.
So I would say those things you need to keep in mind, and then maybe then you don't consider any stakeholder tricky.
Very rightly said. That reminds me something which I was being told when I was doing my internship by my principal employer,
Yeah.
is that if you have to have a good auditor, what is that one thing you should have?
Hmm.
So I said that I should have a good accounting standards knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, no, that is second. The first is you should have an habit to know the client's business.
Hmm.
The more you learn the business, the
Learn
better.
from them.
Yeah, learn from them,
Learn from
obviously.
them.
I
Yes.
mean, learn from them what is their exact business, then only you will be able to do the audit and
Hmm.
give the value addition, I mean, serve the purpose of audit. So is it like the active listening, active understanding of the business, on the
Yeah.
other side of a flip side of a
Yeah. Yeah.
industry, I'm saying, I
No, I think
mean,
very
from the
well said.
consult
Very well said. Couldn't agree more.
back then in 2006 or 7. So
Huh.
when I
Huh.
started this
Huh.
into this finance space.
Huh.
So
Exactly what I was saying. Talk to right people early in your career,
yeah,
people you can learn from, you can take guidance from, and things get easier, I would say. So
correct.
one should not undermine the weightage someone as an expert or as a guide or as a mentor brings it along.
Right. So we talked about of your journeys as a
Mm.
CFO, stakeholders, how to deal with them. How about talent? Uh,
Hmm.
is it like what I was reading? One of the research is that there is a global trends, of course, not India centric. Is that there is a downward trend of a young generation going for a finance subject as an expertise. So, what do you think? Why is that? I mean, why the young Gen Zs are staying away from a hardcore finance? The way I used to. I mean, in our area, we used to work like
Hmm.
we used to say that आपको हाथ गंद नहीं करना पड़ेगा. You
Hmm.
have to be there, deeply involved.
Hmm.
So why is that? I mean, Gen Zs are keeping themselves away from all these things.
Well, I think still, if I talk about India, I believe around 100,000 odd candidates are appearing for CA foundations every 6 months. That's a good number. That's a big number. So we are getting talent, I would say, or aspiring talents.
Yeah,
We are getting aspiring finance professionals, uh, which is good. But I think more importantly, before you enter, and if you enter, stay committed to it. And one of the things, like you said, getting your hands dirty.
yeah,
I think that's one of the things I was very particular that I will do in my formative years.
correct.
I picked roles where I could get my hands dirty. When I say hands dirty, of course, digging deep, and
Yeah.
then uh, picking up stuff which others might not.
Yeah.
If you are amongst the lot, then you are part of the crowd. You have to pick up stuff which matters to the business, but no one is ready to willing to pick it because it means
Yeah.
a lot of work, uh, maybe data crunching, talking to people, things like that, all of that,
Yes.
right? So it's the getting hands dirty. I was very particular to pick those subjects, pick those assignments, and
Right.
I think that helped me. So yes, it is important that you pick these things and ask yourself the question that why are you entering into it? Why do you want to do CA? Why do you want finance as a profession versus any other?
Yes.
And it's applicable for all the professions, to be honest. uh, if you have at least basic foundational clarity about these things, I think you will be able to remain happy, justify the profession, as well as or during the journey reap a lot of benefits out of it. So I
Yes.
think those things are important.
True.
Don't shy away from getting your hands dirty. Is that what I would say?
True, true. So tell me one thing, like as a CFO, do you think that CFO as a designation, they need to do think about talent management or a talent retention within
Hmm.
the team, within the organization? I'm sure there is some separate specialization department which takes care of it. But you as a CFO, or at times you must be interacting with a lot of CFOs, is like, do you feel that you also have to think about it? I mean, whether why talent management is
Absolutely. I think this is a topic very close to my heart, Nishant. Talent management, talent, I would not call it management. I would say talent grooming and
mm,
development is 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 very close to my heart. And my personal opinion is, let it be for CFO or any functions, it's not HR's role or talent team's role to retain people for you. This is your role to retain people in your team, to develop people in your team. The people leader owns the responsibility of their own team
team
members.
members?
Yes, HR, talent teams, they are all there to create the ecosystem, to create the opportunities, to create that infrastructure environment which helps you do that.
Right.
They are the enablers,
Got it.
but this is your role.
Right.
This is your job
So
to
how are
make
you
sure.
managing? I mean, any
Look,
one thing which
yeah,
you.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think if you have given them the breadth of experiences during the job and ensured that they have learned new skills as they move along, 2 years, 3 years, in hindsight, when they look back, they would appreciate and acknowledge that they have grown in terms of the learning and
Right.
the skills. You have done a good job to groom them, and you have done a good job to retain them as well.
Right.
There are many levers, but to me those are the
Correct.
biggest one, and that's what I focus most upon.
Correct.
And not to undermine even an inch on the importance of communication and transparency.
So it
I
means
think
like exposure is a key to.
exposure is the key. Constantly talking to them is the key.
Right.
Being very open about what's going on, what do you feel is the right thing for them, and hearing them, actively listening,
Yeah.
hearing them what they want to do,
Right.
how they want to do, being open about it. I think those are few of the things which I try to imbibe when I deal with my team.
True.
Overall, I think there is a mindset shift which is happening. There is work to do from a conventional credentials like number of years of experience or mandatory experience in the industry to skills and competence mapping.
Correct.
When I take an interview or when I look at my team, I am not focusing a lot on how many years of experience a person has.
Yes.
I'm listing down the skills
Right.
which the job requires, and I'm constantly trying to gauge
Right.
the candidate or my team members on those skills, and whatever is the gap, we
Correct.
need to fill those.
True.
And that's how you, to me, I think that's the biggest lever that you can use to keep your team motivated all the time.
Got it. So it's like the skill which you see, of course, it comes with the number of years of experience as well, but that is not the main criteria, right?
I
That's
would say it doesn't come with the number of years of experience. How have you spent those years?
yeah, correct, correct,
I
true.
would I would say it's mostly that
No, no,
than the
correct,
number of years.
correct, correct.
You know,
The like Mr. Narayamurthy said, 70 hours means the actual meaningful hours spent. So it's like the
absolutely,
meaningful
absolutely,
time someone has spent
absolutely.
in the organization,
Yeah,
and
maybe
that depicts.
don't take it literally 70. I think
Yeah,
to your point,
yeah,
I think what the how I interpret is what it means is that you are spending a quality hours into the job.
correct, correct. So we talked about talent, CFOs, right? Your journey. So what about technology front? There is a lot of noise, rather discussions around the technologies, which
Hmm.
is still evolving. That's what I feel, especially when it comes to our finance domain.
Hmm.
So, what is your take? Is technology is really changing a lot,
Yeah.
or it is still evolving? What is that biggest change which you have seen in last 5 years?
No, I think there is definitely a massive shift for sure. It is evolving. It has evolved a lot. Uh, it will evolve further, no doubt about it. Uh, in terms of, like you said, noise around it, or the let's say FOMO kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Uh, I believe with COVID, a lot of changes on the technology side were a bit rushed because that was the need of the hour, right?
true.
You could not operate suddenly. The offices were closed, and you were to work remote 100%.
Correct.
So things went into a bit of rush, and everyone had to really catch up on it quickly. And sooner came a time when no one wanted to miss the magic train.
Yes.
So in the process, I think what the ecosystem, while it was evolving and developing to these needs, uh, maybe did was that we had a certain method of doing things, let's say manually consolidating files,
Yeah.
of course, which is prone to human errors, which is prone to a lot of time taking into producing the final result or final outcome of the task. We started automating all of those. We in the attempt of digital or business transformation, we automated all the manual processes, or started automating all the manual processes.
Hmm.
Maybe what the ecosystem potentially, my opinion, missed is the asking the what's and how's, whys of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Correct.
what are we doing? Assess what are the reports, what are the tasks, and ask why are we doing it? Is there an opportunity to eliminate some of that waste?
Right.
Is there duplication within the function, but also across function? Many times we see that the same task commercial team is doing and the finance is also doing, or the project team is also doing, or the operation is also doing. So there is duplication, there is an opportunity to eliminate those overlaps. I think if we remove all of that first
Hmm.
and then do
Bri-
this digitization,
True.
it would have been a more systematic change. Having said that, does this mean that the technology or the transformation uh, needs to be deferred for a while? I would put a big caution to it.
Right.
I think the modern finance folks, I'm not saying CFOs, but the finance fraternity as a
Yeah.
whole, need to acknowledge the rising role of technology and be willing to
Correct.
learn that it's not it's not the AI or the technology which will replace you.
Right.
I believe if you are not willing to change and move along with it,
Hmm.
then there might be a problem.
Correct.
But like I said, it's an opportunity because it only empowers what we are already good at.
Correct. Correct.
It empowers us, puts us on the front seat.
Right.
Take it as an opportunity.
Right.
It's a boon, not a bane.
But the flip side, what I think is just a question. Is it
Yeah,
like the flip side of this conversation of adopting technology is, and I feel when I talk to a lot of finance folks,
yeah,
is that is it like it is one of the KPI for a finance folks to do a constant evolution or a determination of the need of AI, because a lot of finance folks are feeling FOMO, as you mentioned, like they are not talking on technology means they are behind the race. Is
yeah.
it like that kind of a ecosystem which is developing parallelly?
I would say it is the need and of this change, and if it's a need, it's an objective of the business and the finance folks.
Right,
Then all what you want to achieve, what cannot be measured, cannot be controlled, and hence a KPI for it. So if you say it's a KPI, I would say it's a good KPI, because
right.
if you really want to make it happen, and I believe we should make it happen, then you need to have those KPIs, right?
KPIs.
KPIs in control. And if it's a KPI, it's a KPI. I mean,
you
but
you have to achieve it.
yeah, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
uh, it is needed, and in fact, when you talk to, like you said, when you talk to the finance leaders, and when I talk around, uh, most of them, if not
Yeah.
more than 70% of them at least, tell that this is their top priority.
Correct.
So I hear this for sure, and I agree to them mostly.
Correct. So, in fact, no, I was into a conversation with one of the finance folk. So that is a technology company. I mean, the senior finance guy is feeling a challenge that the team is little reluctant in adoption of technology.
Hmm.
Maybe the kind of fear they might have that no, they might be replaceable with
Yeah, yeah.
technology or not, which I'm sure, which is not the case. In fact, this is
Look,
upskillment.
any change, it's a big change. Let's accept it, and there are phases of change management, right? And it starts with reluctance, right?
Yes.
It start with reluctance, and then but slowly, gradually, it would come to the acceptance after pushbacks and things like that. But so there is a process, there is a phase of any change management, and it's a big change which
Right.
needs to be managed. uh, but I think earlier we acknowledge, agree, adopt, good for us.
Great. I mean, that brings a conversation to an end. And in fact, I want to have a quick rapid fire round with you. Hardly 2 to 3 questions. Just you are allowed to just answer in one word,
Yeah.
spontaneous.
Okay.
So, team upgradation or technology implementation, which one you prioritize first?
Upgradation of skills to implement technology. It's not a zero sum game.
Great. What is your favorite hobby outside the work?
Traveling.
What advice would you give to aspiring CFOs
Aspiring CFOs. Okay.
who are just next to CFOs like us?
Okay. Okay. Focus on learning. Don't rush. It's a marathon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ashish. I mean, thank you so much for your time. I
Yeah.
hope we are making a meaningful impact, at least for those who are into this finance industry and should be able to do our way of giving back to the society.
No, absolutely. And again, once again, thank you so much for having me over. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope this reaches out to masses. And if there is one life which get touched by this, I think it's mission accomplished. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
making me a
much.
part of it.
Right. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.